So any normal person right now is probably asking, how on earth do you let something get this bad? I want to introduce you to our porch, and I know it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways. It's ugly. And when you have an ugly space in your house that no one wants to spend time in, at least for my family, this is the end result. Clutter, junk, and overall just a mess. And no matter how often we tried to clean and organize stuff, after a few months it always went right back to looking like we belonged in a hoarding show. Now, if you're like me, you can only take so much chaos before you snap, and I had definitely hit my breaking point. I knew this area had potential, and after talking with my wife, we decided to try giving it a good old DIY makeover. We began by taking everything out of the room, and it truly is shocking how quickly stuff can accumulate, which you don't really understand until you have to one by one lift every item yourself. Slowly, I was able to start seeing the carpet, and that was about as depressing as everything else. We do have 5 kids, and whenever they wanted to play with something messy, this is where we'd send them, and from the looks of it, they didn't keep much of anything on the tables. Now it's time to move on to the grueling task of painting. I say grueling because the wood paneling in this room is extremely porous and soaks up paint like I've never seen before. I'll only bore you with the first coat, but it did end up taking a total of 3. The cracks in between each slab were the most difficult and tedious thing to do. Thankfully, my wife was able to help out with some of the trim work that made it go faster. Otherwise, by myself, this would have taken a couple days to finish. Now, I personally love watching time lapses, so if you're the same, I'll speed through my wife and I applying the first coat with some relaxing music playing in the background. I'll leave links to all the music in the description if anything catches your ear, so make sure to check that out if interested.
Quiet streets where the night feels still. Echoes fade in the space we fill. Moonlight paints on the city walls. We're just shadows, but we stand so tall. Breathe in the moment, let it flow. In this silence we both know time moves slow, but it's alright. We're just drifting through the night, lost in thought where the calm runs deep. Dreams away.
Now before moving on, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Aura. So this is me signing up for their free 14-day trial, and during the setup process, one of the many things they do is scan the internet for data brokers that have your personal information. These data brokers then make a fortune selling your information to spammers, scammers, and other entities that want to know more about you. Now, Aura was able to find 30 such instances of my personal information being in the hands of these companies. Then, with one click, Aura sends out a notice to have my information removed from their systems, which they are legally required to do when asked. Their all-in-one platform offers antivirus protection, credit monitoring, credit lock, financial transaction alerts, secure VPN, identity protection, parental controls, 24/7 US-based customer service, and much, much more. I'll leave a link in the description for you to start your own free 14-day trial, so please make sure to check them out. Thank you all so much, and now back to the video. So even though I'm far from finished, I'm always blown away at how much of a difference a little paint can make. I'll definitely be doing before and after shots at the end, but let's move on to the exciting part. If you're new to my channel, I love all things tech, and I love doing fun DIY projects around the house, and in my experience, nothing can dramatically change a space quite like adding some unique yet simple lighting elements to a room. My plan is to run some high quality tunable white cob lights underneath the ledge here, on top of the upper ledge, and along the trim piece on the back wall near the top. After doing a bunch of research, I pulled the trigger on some high CRI tunable white cob lights from a company called Podix. They are one of the top brands in this category and offer an unheard of lifetime warranty on all their products. Now, to make this project as easy as possible, I bought 3 of their all-in-one 10-meter long kits that include the lights, the power supply, a physical remote, and the controller, which makes this truly a plug-and-play option. I'll quickly go over how easy it is to get up and running. I'll first take the lights out of the spool. Then I'll connect the beginning white piece to the controller by lining up the arrows and snapping together. Plug in the power supply, remove the plastic insert from the remote, and you're ready to go. And one of my hopes with this video is that you can look at how easy it was to set up and that you might have the confidence to try doing it yourself. So going back to the sunroom, you'll notice that there's going to be a couple corners. You could just bend and twist your way around them, but you can buy very inexpensive corner connector pieces that don't require any soldering and will for sure make the end product look a little bit more professional without having to do much extra work. To do this, you're going to cut the strip at any of the cut points that make sense for your install. Take the plastic clip and open up the little doors on each side. Now on this connector, if you look close, one side has 2 copper rails and the other has 1 copper rail. This is what gets lined up with a Cob strip, because you'll notice that one side of the strip has the 2 pads while the other has the 1. From here, slide one end of the strip into the connector piece and then the other. Close the little doors on each side, which locks the strips in place, plug it in, and you can see how the light is able to make the jump from one strip to the next for a perfect corner. Now, as with all lights, they do generate a little heat, and it's always recommended to put them on some type of aluminum profile. I'm using this feather light channel from a company called Musada to help with heat dispersion, which will make the lights last longer. This is the first thing I'll be doing, and to secure the profiles to the ledge, I'll be using some sticky double-sided tape. This works great for the channels that are going on top of the wood. However, for anything underneath that's fighting gravity, you could certainly try this method first, but you might have to end up using the mounting hardware that the kit came with. Mine are still holding strong after a couple of weeks with just the tape, but something to keep in mind if things start falling off. Next, it's time to put up the lights. You could measure everything out beforehand, however, I thought it would be easiest to make the corner cuts and add the connectors as I went along. The first section ended up being about 29 feet in total distance, so I was able to cut off the little extra that I had left. Here, I'll zoom things in so you can get a closer look at how the corners turned out. Once the first one was set up, I moved to the bottom section and it was more of the same. I cut the strip and added the corners as I went along. Then the last section was on top, closest to the ceiling, and I didn't do any corners on this run, so it was a straight shot down and super easy. So another thing that's going to potentially help you in terms of hiding wires and cables is to not have the controller right near the beginning of the strip like it is now. You can get these universal 4-pin connector extension kits that are perfect for projects like this because you can then add whatever length wire you need to the start. This means that the controller and power supply will be closer together, making it easier to hide everything near the outlet. I went ahead and did this to my strips, and for concealing the wires on the wall, many different ways you could go, but I just used some simple tracks meant for hiding cords so that everything blends together in with the wall. Now, I don't want to spoil the end results by going over the last few additions, so I'm going to take you back to the beginning to remind you what we started with. We are still saving up money for carpet, but the total cost for the paint, the lights, and the love seat, which you'll see here soon, was under $600. This project ended up being a huge success, and I hope you enjoy the final results. And one quick note is that I just started a Patreon account that I'll leave a link to in the description, but a big shout out to my first 2 supporters, Scarecrow Jenkins and Tom Smith. Every little bit will help me get closer to my dream of doing this full time, and I sincerely thank you both for your support. Now, without further ado, the final results.
Quiet streets where the night feels still. Echoes fade in the space we fill. Moonlight paints on the city walls. We're just shadows, but we stand so